Firewood Made Easy. We're going to give you 10 tips to safely and effectively cut firewood. Most of us have a love-hate relationship with this stuff. We love wood heat, but we hate cutting it. Personally, I enjoy it, but it's much more enjoyable if you know what you're doing. Our 16th president once said, "Give me 8 hours to cut down a tree, and I'll spend 6 hours sharpening my axe." Same to go with firewood. The key to any firewood is that chainsaw, not the power head, the bar, and the chain, which we talked about earlier in our 10 points of having a chainsaw. It's all in that bar and chain, so don't be enamored with some giant saw. It's what's on the end that counts. So the first thing you want to remember, the anatomical structure of the way wood grows, it is almost always easier, and we can't say this with 100%, definitively 100%, but for the most part, you always want to split your wood. If you're cutting from the small end to the large end, put the large end of the wood on the ground. Wood will split easier if you cut the nature, the way the knots grow, cut it from the small end to the bottom. Number 2 is use a maul when you're splitting and you get out here and you're whacking away, and half the job of cutting firewood is you're always bending over. You notice what I did when I bent over to pick this wood up? Look what's supporting me. It's an amazing how much energy you save using that maul as a fulcrum point for your bending over, because it's virtually no energy. This is great. Possibly one of the most important topics I've got to tell you. Number 3, if you've got really tough wood, perfect example. You would think a small round like this would be pretty easy to split. So I line it up. Notice again, the maul. Line it up, take a swing, nothing happens. Sometimes if the wood's tough, you can beat on that all darn day and never get it. So what you do is you rip your wood. And I use the barometer to go the depth of your bar. And you cut down the length of the wood, not from the top, but on the sides. You see where I made my cut? Now you would think, what's the big deal there? Well, it releases the tension in that wood. And I'm swinging with the same amount of force as I swung with that other one. And look how easy that splits. A huge time saver. So number 4, clean your wood. Oftentimes, especially if you're working after a logging operation or someone allows you to go into some property after they've done some logging, the trees are going to be full of dirt and gunk and rocks. And it only takes just one little tiny one to ding your chain, and then you're screwed. So always carry a little axe with you. And in these pieces, like look at this piece, it's full of dirt. Before you make your cut, go along, spend a little bit of time, and clean out around that tree. It'll save a huge amount of wear and tear on your bar and your chain. Extremely important. And to go in conjunction with that, don't gun your saw. If you're finding yourself revving that saw up as hard as it'll go just to make a cut, every time you get a little piece of dirt or rock in that chain, the revolutions that it's going through there, you're destroying your chain. Go just fast enough to cut your wood. Very important. When you're cutting a piece, take what the tree will give you, meaning if the butt end is off the ground, cut the easy pieces first. If the top is off the ground, cut the easy pieces first. The key to a chainsaw is it is a saw, not a shovel. Extremely important point to remember. And most of your weekend warriors don't do that. Another time energy saver is don't do one function of the job complete and then move to the next one. Cut 3 or 4 rounds, then split them and stack them. Cut a few more rounds, split them and stack them. You use different muscle groups, different types of energy to do it. So you notice at the beginning of this video I cut 3 or 4 rounds. Now I'm going to split them, and after I split them, I'm going to stack them. This piece I would have been all day splitting this thing if I hadn't have ripped it with my saw. But the key to any cutting firewood, I missed the kerf. What happened? I didn't split it. I hit the kerf. What happened? I split it. Notice again, using this as my support. It's starting to rain. Our cameraman doesn't like it, but we're going to continue on anyway. So now we've cut and we split. Now we've got to stack our wood. Extremely important, work uphill and downhill. Don't work side hill. You have your wood, start stacking your wood on the low side, roll your rounds in, and if you're going to keep it for the year or the season over, you want them elevated off the ground or they'll wick the water and they never will dry out. If you don't have loose bark available like this, I like to cut little rounds from a piece of wood. Put them down in a straight line up and down the hill, and then you just start stacking your wood. And you stack 8 or 10 pieces. You go on and just keep duplicating, this function. So always start the day. If you've cut firewood part of the day and you think you have a sharp chain, the next morning you won't. Always start the day with a clean chain, or what we might call a fresh chain. And if you follow these 10 tips, you will find firewood cutting as easy as it's ever been. As easy as firewood cutting can be. Thank you very much and have a nice day.